Hello everybody, my name is Elias. Welcome to my channel. Today I will be showing you my Sims 4 family tree. I'm praying this works this time because I did record this video once before and I realized that my dumb self had not done the correct settings in OBS Studios, so it was not showing the full screen. It was only showing like the top right bit. You couldn't see most of the family at the most of the time. So that kind of sucked, but 20 minutes of my time lost down the drain. It's fine. It's fine. It's not fine, but we're not going to talk about that. Okay, I am mainly doing this video to help one of my friends imagine when I'm telling them about my Sim stories and who all the people are. And because I've been repeating a lot of names and he probably is very confused as to who and what I am talking about. He probably thinks I'm crazy because I do talk about these people like they're real, and sometimes they do not distinct who is real. Like sometimes I'll be like, oh yeah, so and so died, and they're like, oh my god, I'm sorry for your loss, and I'm like, yeah, it's just a sim. Just a sim, buddy. Yeah, and so I am also doing this because I want to show off my babies. I get really into Sims, like a little too much. This is a year-old save file, so that also does not help. I've been with them for a very long time, and just to break it down, these two are passed away, and these are elders. The rest are like mixed, all that. So yeah, let's start with Gen 1, or like what I consider Gen 1, or Gen 0 if you play the Legacy Challenge and do it that way. But this is not a Legacy Challenge, by the way. This is just a legacy, a family gameplay. Yeah, okay. So we have Owen, who was a painter. He was very like quiet and solemn, serious guy, you know, but this is actually him when he was real young. This was when he first entered the game. Actually, how I came up with this family is I had Owen for a while, like as a sim, just held up in my saved households, and I had actually just quit a Sim Self Legacy, and I decided why not make a little save file. I'll probably delete it later anyway. Famous last words. And so then I put him down in my game. He's a painter. Lovely man, family, like, he doesn't have the family-oriented trait, but he might as well. He was so lovely. Like, he was precious. I miss him. I miss him a lot. He's dead now. He died of old age. And then there's his wife, Camille Reagan. She actually was a stay-at-home mom for most of the time we saw her. But she was also, like, she sold her garden plants, and she actually became accidentally famous after selling one of Owen's paintings, which actually he was fine with because he didn't want the fame for a very long time. He eventually became a 5-star celebrity, but that's a story for another day. And she actually later in life became a musician, and I think she was like a 1-star for a little bit, but that eventually ended. But yeah, and then there are 3 children. They're triplet girls, which was horrific to deal with. Like, if you've ever dealt with 3 toddlers, it's bad. It's bad. But yeah. And here's the eldest, Ellie, and she was a florist. She used to make like floral arrangements from her mother's flowers, and she was like super outgoing. Well, a little bit, but she actually found more solace in flowers and in her sisters, who were her best friends. And then there was her husband, Kai Watkins. I cannot for the life of me remember what his name was before he was a Watkins. He took her last name. He was a food critic, very good chef, and he like really wanted a big family. Like he would like these two would have had 5 kids if they could. I could not deal with that. I could not make that many storylines. I am not that. I'm creative. I'm not that creative. But yeah. So, and they're actually elders in my game, which is super sad because I like, oh, ooh, nope. But like cause I raised these guys from like, well, I didn't raise Kai from a baby, but like I raised Ellie and her sisters for like babies, and I'm going to miss them so much when I might actually cry. I might actually cry when she dies. Oh yeah, and then there's, ignore that. Just ignore that for a little bit. Then there is Sam Watkins. She was very athletic when she was younger and super outgoing, like so outgoing. She had so many friends. She's like, I usually am like, make my sim a loner. You will have no friends except for your spouse and your children, and maybe your children's spouses. Otherwise, no. But like, she actually had quite a bit of friends, and she had as you can tell, very wild romantic life compared to her sisters. So this is going to be a mouthful. Okay, so she, as a teenager, dated Lilith Robinson, but Sam, as a teenager, was also very impulsive, and so when they got into an argument during a date at a restaurant, she broke it off with Lilith, and she never really got over that. Like, she was heartbroken, even though it was her own fault. But, she'd never admit it. She's a little too headstrong for that. And then she actually had a very weird, fleeting romance with Olivia Spencer Kim Lewis, but we ignore that because they just kind of flirted on a whim and got a heart bar. And then there's Justice Spear, who she dated as an adult, or not an adult, a young adult, and they actually moved in together. This gang lived in Willow Creek, or Willow Creek? No, they lived in Newcrest. They still live in Newcrest. She lives in City Living, or City Living. She lives in the city, San Myshuno, but like her and her current wife, and so did these two. Like, these two lived, when they all became young adults, they moved out to the city together. And I think they broke it off because Justice didn't like Anna, and Sam really trusts Anna's opinion, because if Anna has anything to say about a person, you know it's wrong. So yeah, later in life, like when she was later in her young adulthood, she met Athena Lord, which, whoo, Athena is one of my favorite Sims. She is so amazing, and like, she's a businesswoman. Sam's actually a comedian. She's I think she's a 5-star celebrity as well, but like, she's really successful in her career. And Athena's a businesswoman. She's amazing. She's also really pretty. I made her. Like, I made her myself, so not to toot my own horn, but yeah. And actually, there was one time where she went to the gym to fulfill one of the bodybuilder aspirations, and she saw Lilith there, and autonomously, I didn't do it. She just, like, while married to Athena, she just went up and kissed her. Which I promptly ignored as a storyline, because I was like, no, we are not allowed to ruin the perfect marriage going on right now. Ma'am, you have a child. But yeah, so that was that storyline. And then there's Anna. Anna's my favorite of the triplets. She's basically, she was a child genius. She was homeschooled as a child because she was really awkward, and like, school just was like too much for her, so she stayed home and like got her work done in like 30 minutes, and then would like go on to the beach and like hang out. And actually, at the beach, she met Wyatt Robinson, fun story. Lilith and Wyatt are twins. And so she met them both at the beach. She actually set Sam and Lilith out on a date when they were teenagers. And she had always like had a crush on Wyatt, but she was just like, no, until Wyatt asked her out as a teenager, and she's like, I mean, I guess, but so, like, just so you know, like, so many these marriages end in divorce because she's like, I feel like she's a Spencer Reed type if you've ever watched Criminal Minds. Like, just so awkward when it comes to like personal reaction, but like just spouting off facts half the time. Yeah, and then Wyatt has a very like tough childhood. Like, him and his sister both, like, they didn't really have good parents. But like he was like found like he was like the son that Owen and Camille never had, and like they were my favorite couple ever. They were so cute. But I will say, I did like a what Sims that could have been, and I did one with Wyatt and Sam, and oh my god, their baby is so much more hot than Elijah, which is their son. I feel bad saying that because I love Elijah as well, and I love Wyatt and Anna together, and Sam and Wyatt would have just ruined everything. But, you know, can't change it now, they're elders. I'm very tempted to, I named him Elliot. Oh, Elliot was so hot. If I can find a picture in my screenshots, I will definitely make a video about it, or like just show off, like, oh, looky here. Here is my Sims that I made. Okay, I'm getting off topic. Okay, we're going to like go over here to Kai and Ellie's children. Okay, we have the eldest born, Alexei. He was a kind of hot-headed teen. He didn't really get along well. Like, he got along fine with his siblings and his mom, but because of reasons that I will explain a little bit later, he was kind of had a strained relationship with both of his parents. And he actually met Haven Finch when they were teenagers, and they had this really like cutesy, like bad boy flower child romance. And like, oh, Haven was also like really good for him. Like, he would have become a criminal if not for Haven, which is very much Wattpad-y. Like, kind of bad boy ex good girl type stuff. But so I know it's stereotypical, but I don't love them any less for it. He's also really hot. so we'll accept it. And then there's the middle child, Rowan Watkins, and his ex, Curtis Matlock. We'll talk about why they broke it off in a little bit. And the youngest, Oscar. The thing about Oscar is that Ellie had complications with his birth, so like both parents basically like doted on Oscar and didn't pay as much attention as they should have to Alexei and Rowan. But Oscar actually is now dating his childhood best friend, Jenny White. They didn't get together until they were young adults because they were like, ew, no, that's gross. But like now, Jenny's like, we're here. Oh, and right, I forgot. So she's a florist. He's a food critic. Sam is a comedian. Athena is a businesswoman. Anna is an engineer. And Wyatt is a teacher. So, yeah. And then Alexei is a, what's it called? What's the word? Secret agent. I'm thinking FBI. Which is quite the opposite of what he would have become. And then Haven is a civic worker, or civic planner. And then there's Rowan, who is a failed actor, now social media influencer. And then there's Oscar, who is a politician, and Jenny, who is a social media influencer as well. I don't think she's an influencer. I think she's a manager or something like that. Yeah, okay, and then there's Sam and Athena's child, Juno. And a fun thing about Juno is that there is actually a thing within the Watkins legacy that was basically we had a boy for the first gen. If we ignore spouses, we had a boy for the first gen, we had all girls for the second gen, and actually it was born all boys for the third gen, but Juno came out as trans. We love her for it. And I was like, finally a girl. But yeah, because I mainly did that because I did want a girl. And also I gender bent her, like, from what she was before. And I really liked the way she looked. So I was like, yeah, of all them, I think that's the best. This bit. This is a very, like, I just realized, like, all of this line is very, like, fruity. Like, go lesbians, go. But yeah, and then Juno married Paisley. Paisley was actually a married woman when they met Spicy, and they actually were dating, but Juno was like, yo, your husband sucks, you should marry me instead. And Paisley was like, yeah, you're right. And so she brought her biological daughter, Ariana, no relation to Juno, Ariana Vasquez, into the Vasquez. I always say it like that. God, Vasquez, Ariana Vasquez. They brought their child into the house, and fun thing about Paisley is also that her mother was an alien. Her dad was just a sim. He was boring. But her mother was an alien, and I didn't actually make Paisley or Ariana. She was already, like, she wasn't townie. She was, like, a product of MCC, and Ariana was also a product of MCC. I didn't even change their look, but they're both so pretty. Like, for no reason. How can, like, a generated sim be that pretty? Like, I've never seen someone that pretty. Like, even without CC, they look gorgeous. Okay, but yeah, so back to now to this side of the family. Anna. This ain't Frozen. Anna and Wyatt's son, Elijah. He is actually has his ex, Diana Kirkland. And there's a little bit more to Diana that we will get into a little later. But for now, we'll just say that Diana and Elijah broke up because she got pregnant with twin girls, Georgia and Stephanie. He wanted to keep it. He was fine if she didn't want to, but, like, she was like, nah, I'll go do the pregnancy for you. And then she dropped, like, she left. She up and went and got milk. She up and went and got milk. Sorry, she went and got milk. I've said that for the 4th time. Okay, she left. She dropped, out of the twins' lives when they were born, like, straight up. Born, moved out. And Elijah was stuck being a single dad, which actually, he loves his girls. He loves them very much. So he was okay with it. And back to Curtis. The reason Rowan and him broke up is because Curtis cheated. Now, who did he cheat on? Who did Curtis cheat on Rowan with? None other than Diana Kirkland. The plot thickens. And they actually had Leo Kirkland, who we will get into later. We'll go over here where it's easier. Okay, so we have Alexi and Haven's kids, Grant Watkins, who I have dubbed the most boring man in the world. When he was a child, the most interesting thing about him was that he played soccer. But when people asked him about how he liked soccer, he said he was bored of it and that he would rather play golf. As a teenager, he knits and is a B student. He's very average. I can imagine him just going off into a suburban life with 2 kids and a dog. He's the most middle class man I have ever seen, and he's only a teenager. He wears a bowling shirt. He's on the bowling team in high school. He is also very likely the type of man who would like bump into you at a grocery store and be like, "Oh, pardon me," like with the white people smile. You know which one I'm talking about. Okay. And then we have his sister Eden, who is opposite to him in every single way. Like like you can't see it, but she's wearing a My Chemical Romance shirt. She will dance and sing loudly at like 3 a.m. and not care who hears, because it's just Eden in her own little world. And she gets along very well with her brother, surprisingly, with how boring he is. And also, these two are identical. Like, Eden is Alexi with a wig on, and Grant is Haven with a wig on. They look so similar. It didn't help I gave Grant freckles, and I didn't give Eden freckles, so it just looks even more like it. And also the blonde hair and the... Where did she get the brown... Okay, both of her grandparents have black hair. Alexi has black hair. Haven doesn't have parents. She has blonde hair. Camille's genes be going strong. She's just like, they appear. Okay, I just noticed that. And then we have Leo, who is the product of Diana and Curtis. And if you see this little adopted thing, that's because Rowan adopted Leo because Curtis and Diana abandoned Leo as a baby. And Rowan and Elijah, father of Leo's half-sisters, adopted him. They are, just so you know, they are cousins. So that would make them technically adopted second cousins, but at the same time half-siblings. And at the same time also adopted siblings. Okay, I'm confusing myself. Yeah. And then we have... We're just gonna move on because that's confusing me. Okay, and then there's Juno and Paisley. Obviously, I have talked about Ariana. She's really into music. And Leo's actually into... I don't know what he's into. I haven't really... Like, his parents are more interesting than him. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, Curtis is dead. He died. In front of Diana, too. On their driveway. Which was interesting. But luckily he got to meet Leo for the first time, and basically his exact words were, "Do as I say, not as I do." Like a proper deadbeat dad. And then he died a day later, so yeah, Leo's a little bit messed up. I can feel it. I can feel it. If Grant is the boring one, I can feel that Leo's going to be the most entertaining to play with because of just the amount of trauma this man has. You can see it in those eyes. Those horrified little eyes. Also, he's a teenager right now in my game. So are those two. Like, so are Eden and her older brother, Grant. What's his face? Boring guy. Yeah, and then there's, the twins, George and Stephanie. Stephanie is one of my favorite Sims I have ever played with. She's just really pretty. And actually, the friend that I mentioned earlier, he does not like Georgia's face very much. He thinks it's weird, which I think she's very pretty. Stop messing with my Sims. Like, they are beautiful in their own little way, and her lips are not weird. Yeah. I just need to get that out, you know. I would yell it, but it's very quiet in the house, and I do not want to wake up the dogs. Georgia is a musician right now. She's a young adult. Ariana is also a young adult. And obviously, Stephanie is a young adult. But yeah, she's a musician, and she plays the guitar. She's actually, the whole thing with this legacy is that geniuses run in this family. It started with Anna, and Georgia actually got the genius trait. Juno got the genius trait. Oscar got the genius trait. I think, like, even though he didn't have the trait, I think Owen was a bit of a genius. So, like, it passed down through the generations. And so, and I think, yeah, and then Georgia is the other one with the genius trait. And so, yeah, it just kind of passes down. And Stephanie actually had a big thing going on. She had here is her, like, when they were teenagers, they were dating, and they actually tried for baby in a bush, and at a park, and she got pregnant. Side story to that, right after she got, like, after they tried for baby in the bush, we didn't even know if Stephanie was pregnant. Mark Guevara, died of overheating. She pled for him. He lived. Thank God. And, they had Alice. Cute little girl. Cutesy. She actually has the Guevara name right now, but because they weren't married when they had Alice, Alice has the Robinson name still. And, Stephanie actually asked Mark to get married when they had the baby, because she's like, well, I mean, we're married. I'm allowed, like, even though we're teenagers, we're not married. We have a baby, even though we're teenagers. I think we should get married, you know. Stephanie gives me, like, religious vibes. So, and Mark was actually in the game like, no, I don't want to do that. But then I had him ask her, because I was like, Mark, you are not ruining my storyline if I can so help it. So they got married. They signed the marriage papers. They came back, and guess what happens? Mark gets struck by lightning and lives. This man is the luckiest man I have ever seen. Who dies of overheating, gets revived, and then gets struck by lightning and lives. Who has that kind of luck? Mark does not deserve that. Also, Mark very much has had beef with Alice, still has beef with Alice, but like when they were like when she was a toddler and he was a teenager, like they went at it. They hated each other. It was awful. Because, I mean, Mark didn't want the pregnancy. Stephanie did. She opted to keep it. And Alice was born, and he never, like, he would, when Alice was born, Mark would go to bed and cry because of how much he hated Alice. It was so bad. Oh, he would get a tense moodlet or a sad moodlet every time he interacted with her because he didn't want her so much. It was awful. It was awful for me to deal with. I was like, dude, thank you for sticking to the storyline, but you're being a little over dramatic. Your life's not ruined. But yeah, and actually, God, take a sip of water every time I say actually in this video. Okay, but Stephanie actually wanted to, I said it again, Stephanie wanted to take Alice and Mark on a vacation because, you know, she had actually graduated early from high school, and Mark quit school. Mark is a proper deadbeat. He's not done anything for his life. He's a fast food worker. No shame to fast food workers, but he's kind of lazy. Clearly. But Stephanie wanted to take them two out on a vacation. They had an argument, so Stephanie went with Alice alone. They went to the Mount whatever, the snow escape place. And Alice had a grand old time, learned that she loves skiing. And she was like, Mom, why can't we do this every day? Like, this would be amazing. Imagine this. And Stephanie was like, you know, Alice, you have a point right there. And so when they went home Stephanie was like, hey, Mark, you know what we should do? We have a stable income. You know, I think we should move. And Mark was like, I don't want to do that because Mark doesn't like fun. Mark doesn't like anything fun. Mark denied Alice a dog, even though he loves dogs, just because Alice wanted it. Again, he got beef with a 10-year-old. Mark was like, no, I don't want to do that. They got into a big argument. Mark lets out that he had cheated with 2 other girls. He cheated with 2 other girls, but he only admitted to one, which she's kind of his girlfriend, kind of not. They didn't really make it official. They're just kind of like date mates, but not official. So he lets that out. Stephanie ends up like being like, yo dude, why did you do that? I'll give you a chance, but I think we should be like separated for a little bit. So we're gonna move to the Snowy Escape place, and you can stay in Windenburg, since you love Windenburg so much apparently. So they move, and Mark takes this as a chance to be like, oh, no responsibilities. So he drops off the grid. He just leaves, so he doesn't have to pay child support or ever see Alice again. So these 3 are young adults now. Alice is obviously a child, so that whole situation is to be determined whether or not they will ever find Mark, and then actually right now Stephanie doesn't realize Mark is off the grid. But like, yeah, so thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, like and comment, telling me how you liked it. If you would like me to do more, then I could show you more of like in detail of this family. I don't think I would ever do like a proper let's play with this family, but I'm thinking about doing a Sims Let's Play, so I could like make a new family and make another legacy that we can all play along together. So yeah, it's going to be fun, and so if you like my channel, then you can subscribe and you can see more content. Alright, thank you. Goodbye.